Hello, everybody, and welcome to this week's episode of The Mandala Effect. Now, I was already excited to have this conversation with today's guest, but after our brief interaction this morning and some kind of back and forth on Instagram, I'm even more excited. So I'd like to welcome Bernadette Logue. Have I said your name right? Is it Logue?
Did it perfectly.
Amazing. I'd like to welcome B, who is a spiritual life coach. She's the author of Your Soul Journey Simplified, which I think we could all read, and the host of the podcast Practical Spirituality with B. Again, spirituality needs a practical guide. She helps people understand their soul and navigate human reality, which, well, is maybe this is why we were brought together, because I like to go off into the spiritual realms and rarely come down to I like to stay up there in the ether, but coming down to earth can sometimes be a bit painful, and I'm sure a lot of people can resonate with that. But B, welcome. Thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you. I'm so glad to be here. I definitely feel like there's something synchronistic or magically aligned going on here. I really feel that. Just know. Yeah, something's at work. Thank you, Spirit.
Yeah, thank you for bringing this, for helping this conversation and connection to happen. Do you want to just tell us a little bit about who B is in this human reality?
Oh, sure. What a great question. Well, I'm from New Zealand. I'm 45 years old. I have a wonderful husband. I have no children. I'm a nomad. I travel around the world. I left New Zealand about 10 years ago. I went back for a couple of years and tried to do settled life, which I loved for a little while. And then my nomad heart stirred again. So we are traveling around the world again. I used to do corporate business.
Oof.
So in New Zealand, I worked in the government and the private sectors. And for a good half of that, about 6-7 years, I worked in human resources recruitment and performance coaching and staff management. So I've got an operations background, which is why I'm so practical. So when I awoke to spirituality, it was like Pandora's box being opened, and it was incredibly shocking to me. And I'm passionately obsessed when I get onto something. So I analyzed and I dove deep and I went in every direction I could with it. And then I kind of merged practical reality of being human, soul journey, purpose, spirituality. How do they overlap? How do we make sense of it? And how do we use it to move through this world?
That's amazing, because that is a huge shift from corporate world to, were you spiritual as a child or?
No, I was raised in an Irish Catholic family. And at 13, I was like, this doesn't make sense to me. I'm out.
Yeah. Well done.
And at the same time, And at the same time, my sister died. So I was like, I'm not about this God person thing and this whole situation. So I became a very angry teenager and a very surly and assertive young adult. I had anxiety since I can remember anxiety at 3 and 4 years old, like intense anxiety. And so I've moved through the world as a child feeling very unsafe. And that feeling stayed with me through all my adult years. So my coping strategy and my strong suit was I'm going to lean on being practical and being excellent in my job. And I'm going to put on a suit of armor and I'm going to be very assertive. And so I moved through the world like that while underneath being very anxious and nervous all the time. So when I woke up to spirituality and spirit, my soul stirred in, and spirit basically woke me by putting all these people and events in my path to wake me. It was kind of shocking. I had been into personal development heavily. I'd been to Landmark Education, multiple of their courses. I was into mind power, and John Kehoe had gone to one of his events early on. So I'd kind of been into that. I'd read Eckhart Tolle and I was all about it, mainly because I was empty inside. So I was like, this can't be it. This can't be it. This can't be it. Like, I've got the house, I've got the job, I've got the XYZ. The only thing I don't have is a child. And am I willing to risk having one and realizing that's not it as well? And so that's when the awakening started. So the spiritual thing was like, I'm going to go off to these spiritual things, but I'm going to keep it a secret. I'm telling you. So luckily for me, I had a sister who was really into it and my husband was really into it. So we kind of journeyed together. And then I just was like, oh, I'm just going to come out and be this person now. So I just kind of like announced to the world, I'm leaving my career, I'm selling my house and everything I own, and I'm going to go into the world and I'm going to just explore life, spirituality, myself. And that's kind of how it all started.
Incredible. When did you notice any resistance? Okay, so let's go into your kind of spiritual awakening, because sometimes, so we kind of, like, mine was a smack in the face. What was yours like?
Mine was the slow burn of, I think I might be depressed. How can I be depressed? I've got everything that I could want, and everyone thinks I'm really confident and amazing. I'm getting promotions at work. I've got like a fabulous pay ticket that I don't really have to work that hard to get. It's like amazing. Like everything's normal. Why do I feel stressed and anxious and empty inside? This is like a problem. Where am I going to find the answers to this? So this had been stirring a little bit. And then someone that was very dear to me got sick, and the doctors didn't have any answers. And they were like, it's not curable. And I was like, that can't be, that's not acceptable to me. And at the same time, they were treating this person like, you're just going to have to get over it. Like, you're just going to have to get over the fact that this is happening to you. And so I stepped in to start to advocate for that person inside the medical system. And at the same time, was hell bent on finding an answer. And at that time, Spirit started to send me particular sign, and it was coming at me everywhere. It was healing, 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 healing. Radio turn on, there's a song and it's talking about healing. I go to the end of my road at my street to go to work. Someone's erected a billboard about healing. A friend texted me and said, oh, there's a healing event going on at St. Bernadette's church.
No.
Isn't that weird? And I went, that is weird. And then I started waking in the middle of the night with visions and like just out of nowhere and messages coming in, and I followed them, and I ended up doing theta healing training.
Okay.
Which
is sound frequency.
Really,
is it sound frequency?
It's not. It's like a spiritual modality to connect with source, with spirit, with God creator, and to use energy to heal yourself and others. So mentally, emotionally, physically. So the point of that whole thing I can see now was, it was never about the person who was sick in my life. It was always, all these events have just been bumps to get me into my purpose. And what I ended up doing is opening up this clear audience and this ability to move energy and feel energy in my body. So that's how I experience energy, as it moves my body, like I can feel it moving. And so that really, like, I was like, this is amazing. How's not everybody not talking about this? So I quit my job eventually and started at that time an energy healing life coaching business. I don't do the energy work now for a particular reason, but that kind of opened up this whole journey, which has now become 12 years of doing this for work.
Amazing. So with the energy healing, did you find it depleted your energy, or
I really quickly learned how to not take on other people's, in both the coaching and the energy, not take on people's energy and their issues. At the beginning, I was a fixer. I need to fix everybody. And of course, that's just lasts about 5 seconds before you realize that doesn't work. And so now I don't have that at all. And moving energy, it can be a little tiring when it's physically intense, because for me, I can feel like if I was doing energy work, I can feel it move out of the person's body, because it moves out of me, like it pulls up and it pushes down. But it's not so much that as the reason I actually stopped doing the energy work was this. People started coming to me and say, can you just fix it for me? And I was like, oh, this is the trap. People are just going around paying money to everybody to get them to fix them, and they're missing the point. And so I was like, as much as I could do this, I can't do this. This is not, like, there are people that need to do that, and that's not me. I'm not down in the trenches doing that. That's not me. I just could feel it inside of me. And so I stopped doing that and started enabling people with the things they need to do it for themselves. Not training them in energy healing, but training them how to move through the world and manage their energy and find their own answers and point them to their own truth.
Which is so important, because this is sort of actually, and we know that this conversation is happening for a reason, because I'm seeing this in part of my own practice at the moment, and this is where I have been previously, is I've done the personal development, the Tony Robbins seminars, the lots of Joe Dispenza Rewire Your Mind, to try and fix the thing. Like, I want to fix this problem in my life. I want to help you fix your problem. I want to help you fix your problem. I've had clients come to me who think that just by paying me, their problem will be fixed. But actually, no, this is a life journey, and we need to learn how to navigate it. And there are always going to be challenges. And that's one of the biggest things I see for is, for me personally, when I was going through this awakening process, or still am, it is hard for the human, for the ego, to understand that there will always be challenges.
So, like, show me one person that doesn't have to. Don't tell me Buddha. No, Buddha sat and starved under a tree for a long time. And don't tell me Jesus didn't have problems. Seriously, rebel of his time, didn't go so well, right? Like, don't tell me the monks don't have problems. No, challenges are part of life, whether it's you stub your toe, you've got something on your skin you need to deal with, somebody's in your life is not treating you well, work's going, whatever. But it's the scale of challenges. And the thing with challenges is that they are sacred and to be revered on your life journey for what they do for you. You ask anybody who, I can think right now, I've got someone who has gone through a cancer journey, and what they said was how it changed their life, and how that, like, they're just like literally glowing now on this amazing, like they're doing what they love. They were not happy before. There were so many things going on, and it's just like, it's amazing when you look back. Like, I look at my own challenges and think, if I hadn't faced that and I hadn't been pushed, like diamonds are made under pressure, I haven't been pushed to that, my ego and mind would just be like, oh no thanks, I'll just stay in the comfort zone. And so, while life's always going to have challenges and we can't get away from that, not all challenges are there because they're there for you. Sometimes we all have the same challenge because it's happening in the world. Sometimes they're just blips and stuff you have to deal with in life, but a lot of the time they can be really powerful vehicles that our soul is like calling in, which is kind of difficult for people to stomach sometimes.
Especially when, well, for me, I had a fixed idea of, I'm going to be a successful woman, businesswoman, jewelry designer. That was my fixed idea. That was where I was going, and I was going to use personal development and meditation to help me get there, and and kind of connect with my higher self to help me get there. And then I was given a smack in the face and have to understand that actually, no, you're gonna grow. You can't use, it's not do a meditation and manifest the thing. It's learn and grow, and then you dust yourself off and you go again.
100%. Because in those challenges, they are like, I have so much appreciation for like using personal development to achieve an end outcome, right? But like, our soul to a degree is like, whatever about that. like you can play with all the things in the world and you can have all those things, but there's something much more powerful and sacred is going on. And I think it's the ability to honor that something very powerful is going on below the surface of our life, and still let ourselves be human and have our goals and the fun things we want to do, because that's all part of it. That's not part of it. It's source, God, creator, divinity, universe. I use all of the terms to honor everyone's belief that wants to move forward and play through you and express through you, and all the colors and all the joy and all the abundance and all the fun and all the things. And at the same time, and there must be evolution of the being, evolution of the consciousness, not in the way that the ego's decided, well, I'll only fix that thing because that'll get me there, but in the ways your soul signed up for. So, like, for example, you want to grow your jewelry business and you're like, oh, I really need to sort out being more present so I can be more creative in my design. So you decide from your human self that's what you're going to do. So then you use a tool. I'm using meditation, or I'm using, NLP or whatever to do that. Okay, that's cool. And then that's all brilliant. And then also your soul's like, and also you signed up to learn self-love. So now you're going to get that at the same time. And you can have it all, but you've got to have that too. Because that's really what's going on here. Or trusting yourself, because to do creative work and to bring forth that full expression, you're going to have to learn how to trust yourself, and that's what you've signed up for. So that, what I love about the soul journey is this: you're seeded with yearnings and creative expressions and passions that want to come to life. But if you step into them, it is going to bring up your stuff on purpose, by design, because there has to be an imperative for you to evolve your consciousness and evolve yourself as your soul wants to. And so it's like this incredible design, as if it will stir in you to want to create.
Yeah.
To want to express, to want to give life to your passions and your inspirations. But guaranteed, the second you go to do that, particularly when all those things converge, like you're really passionate, you're really intuitive, you're really feeling it, and you want to go, relationship, job, career, lifestyle, anything, as soon as you go to do it, what comes up? Fear, lack of self-doubt, lack of self-love. I'm not worth it, I'm not worthy, world's not safe, can't trust people, there's not enough to go around. Something, stuff comes up, and people think it's in my way. Like, when will the stuff get out of my way? It's not in your way, it is the way.
It is the way. And that for
which
the
is
egos.
a Zen, I think it's a Zen saying, something like that.
Yeah, and it's like, well, so there's a lot about it, isn't there? There's the obstacle is the way. In you know, the it's like the gold is the dragon god's gold, right? So all it's dotted throughout throughout stories and history, and and it's really painful. It's really,
yeah, it is, it really is. And I think it just helps, I think, in the times when you're walking the journey, is to know your soul self is not at all concerned.
Yeah.
Your soul is like, we've got this, like, I'm up for this. That's why you're here. Like, it is not a mistake that anyone listening to this is actually here in a body, breathing at this moment. This is not random. This is very by design. This is very purposeful, and your soul has got this and is signed up for all of this. And then the human self is having all of the right. And so it's like, the more we can bring ourselves into connection with and alignment with our soul, the more we can bring in that trusting, powerful energy, the easier it becomes. It's not easy, but it becomes easier for sure. 100%.
So there's a few things that I want to go into here. We'll start with the soul journey that you've mentioned. So the soul journey, what is the soul journey? Can you explain it to somebody who might not, and I'm imagining anyone listening to this understands a little bit about the soul and the concept of the soul, but what about this idea of the soul journey? And, we sign a contract when we enter this human life. Can you talk to that a little bit?
So first of all, I will say I'm not the truth teller of all time, and I don't desire to be anybody's guru. So this is my analysis, because I am like an analytical mind. Okay. So what I did is, over 10 years, I researched, experienced for myself with clients in all sorts of areas to understand, from Akashic records, numerology, astrology, spirit channelers, different Eastern traditions, Western traditions, everything I could get my hands on, to understand. And there are pointers to similar truths. As we all know, there's universal truth, and it shows up in all sorts of different ways, to understand what the soul journey is. Then I started to recognize that it actually is mirrored in your real life experiences. So therefore, you can actually look at your life and you can see evidence of your soul journey playing out in very specific stages and experiences that we all have as humans. And the reason that was appealing to me is because I realized it was happening to everybody. It wasn't just me, it wasn't just people I knew. When I started to study, okay, well, that's true for you, and that's true for you, and that's true for you. There are certain things you can't escape about being human. There are things that potentially won't fully blossom for some people if they are not awakened during the journey, right? So you can live this journey to varying degrees. So the first thing I'd say is, I don't focus on this bit, but I'm just going to share it in case it's of interest to people, is that there is an overarching soul journey, of that there are many journeys, many lives, many realities, many experiences, and we could call that the overarching soul journey. But the way I share it in Your Soul Journey Simplified is related to this lifetime. So in this incarnation. So I've mapped it as 11 stages. From pre-birth, before you arrive, there is a choice to come. And there is a plan for why you're coming. And there is an overarching purpose. And of course, we know when we incarnate, we have free will. So we can dance with it in whatever way we want. Your life is not destined. It's not fated. There's a high potential and there's a reason for you being here. And then it can go any number of ways depending on how you play with life. So that is pre-birth planning. And, you know, there's soul contracts, relationships with people that you have in your life. And then you come into life and you completely forget who you are. And you experience what I call the arrival and the separation, which is you're ripped from consciousness of I am oneness and that loving energy that so many people who have had NDEs or otherworldly experiences or gone beyond human consciousness, we know what that is, and it is not like this reality. So now you're a little baby and you're in the world and you're experiencing the separation and having a human being experience, and you forget. And then we go through stages 3 and 4, which are conditioning and challenges. And that's where we get really far from our soul self. And that is just, I just call it the rite of passage. There's no escaping it. Don't be upset at anybody about it. Don't be upset about whoever conditioned you, because this is it. Right?
I really want to be upset at them though.
Right? It's like, well, I just realized that, you know, my parents conditioned, welcome to being human. I've got the most amazing parents in the world. I love them to pieces. Oh my gosh, my heart wants to shatter into a million shards when I think of how much I love them. And I'm like, oh yeah, pick that up from mum and dad. So you get conditioning, and that formulates your paradigm of who you think you are and who other people are, and what life is, and all of your beliefs and all of your fears and all of your expectations. And now you're walking around in life looking through a pair of glasses that say XYZ about life, totally different to everybody else's, because it's based on your unique conditioning. Then we have challenges, and challenges are a whole part of our journey. And notice this is not linear from A to Z, because this is all happening. And this beautiful thing is there is no time and there is no space. We think there's time and we think there's space. Okay, good. So then we have challenges. They provoke and prompt our evolution. I'm going to gloss over that. Chapter 5, we stir. Stage 5, we stir inside. Our soul starts awaken. And people think there's one awakening.
Oh,
I had
no,
my
there's
spiritual
not.
awakening 20 years ago. It's so really loud laugh, because you and I talked about this before. I was like, I had my Roses and Glory awakening in 2010. And then I had Dark Night of the Soul in 2013. I was thinking, oh, thank God that's done. Nope. Last year, I had a very deep Dark Night of the Soul and a huge rebirthing. And it was like getting pushed through the eye of the needle. It was the most painful experience of my life. And I've lost a lot of people in my life and gone through some, you know, not difficulties like other people, but some painful experiences. OMG, that was painful.
Yeah.
So what is happening is we have life stirring us to wake up, like, wake up, this job is not working for you. Wake up, this situation, relationship is not working for you. Wake up and take responsibility. Wake up to your value and worth, all these kinds of things. But then we have spiritual awakening, like, I'm going to show you a different level of reality now. Buckle in.
Yeah.
And you're getting all these different types of awakenings, and they're happening throughout your life. And then after that, we have stage 6, I call rebirth and reconnection. Very beautiful, very healing, very just like glorious feelings of reconnection, and the sense of really coming into to a greater alignment with your soul. Then stage 7, creating and conscious living. We're like manifesting and making things happen and loving the ride. Stage 8 is contribution, living purposefully, fully in our purpose. Stage 9 is transcendence, above and beyond the ego and the drama of the world. How do we live in a more transcendent state?
I just skipped to that bit.
Yeah, can we skip? Right. And then we try to run away and live in the countryside away from all the people so we can have peace, and we realize that doesn't work.
Yeah.
And then
That's
stage 10 is death, transition, because it's part of the soul journey, right? Yeah. We go home to spirit side. And then the last stage is an invitation, the ever-present invitation of our soul, whether we're here or anywhere else, to constantly be answering the yes to the I am soul, I am powerful, I am all of creation embodied in this one being, I am one with you, I am one with life. And if we can continuously invite that in and respond to that invitation, we come into this dance of life. It's not always easy, but it is challenging and magical at the same time.
Yes.
So those are the 11 stages of the soul journey as I talk about it in my book and in my program.
Yeah, which is I love how you've laid it out. But it really is, it's almost like a map, isn't it, to kind of understand where you have
You want to see the map? I'm so obsessed with it. Like my whole Soul Odyssey program, like it's the only thing I do. I like, it's the only thing I do now. This is a little bit of an ugly version of it because it's in black and white, but it's an actual map.
Yeah, amazing. Because
so it traces the actual journey and like the spiraling journey into yourself through all those stages, and then taking those back out into the world to live as your soul. You arrive, you fall asleep, you become the small self, you come home to the soul self, and you do it while you're still here. You die to your small self while you're here, so you can live as your soul self. So it's like, I'm obsessed with it. It's a map, it's a framework, so that you can it appeals to the analytical mind to help you wrap your head around what is otherwise a very ethereal conversation.
Ethereal, and well, for a lot of people in the corporate world, or like I'm a Pisces, so I've always been kind of away with the fairies, but I've actually rejected a lot of it, and thought that I had to be this kind of I have to be this, every minute of my day is structured and it has to be like this and da, da, da. But I think that having the map outlining that it's not linear, and that you're going to have multiple awakenings, you're going to have multiple challenges to go through, and you can't escape it. It will always find you. I have retreated to the country and my problems have followed me. It happened.
We've literally bought a property in the countryside to try to get like into nature and away from everything for 2 years, and it's wherever you go, there you are.
Exactly, right. There you are. And that is, so then would you say that, what is the point of the soul journey? What is the point? Is there an end goal?
Is there an end goal? So I'll start with my Soul Odyssey take on this, and then I'll talk about life force energy and what I see life force wants. So from a soul perspective, there are 4 things that happen in everybody's lives. You can't escape them. So I'm like, well, that seems pretty purposeful then. That pattern can't be by mistake. And it shows up in numerology, it shows up in astrology, it shows up in the Akashic records, it shows up in like I've had, I don't know if you know Brent Bruning, he does master hand analysis. He did my hand analysis. Shows up in your hand analysis, not like tarot, more deep than that. Sorry, not like palm readings, more deep than that. Shows up everywhere. And those 4 things are your soul plan, elements of your soul plan. Learning, can't escape it. Healing, can't escape it. Growth, can't escape it. Happens whether you're spiritual or not. Happens if you're an atheist. Happens no matter what your religion. Happens if you're asleep and you don't even realize who you are. And the last one is contribution. And the being here is a contribution. Being here and being loving and being kind and being on point is a contribution. But then you can take it next level in a big way by going, oh, I'm really going to get in my contribution. And that's where you see people, they have then designed their life around this. So those 4 things are always happening, but you can uniquely identify your learning, healing, and growth and your contribution because it shows up like footprints in your life. So that's where we can go deeper and actually, you can actually discover that, like your soul is talking to you, life is talking to you, your challenges are literally trying to point you to the areas that you're here to expand in. And so there's that. So that is all purposeful. And what does that all generate? It generates evolution. So the universe is evolutionary, and we are creatures of creation, like the birds, like like Mother Nature. So we are an evolving, interacting part of consciousness. And one thing I'm really clear on from some spiritual healing quests is that life force energy just wants to move forward, and it wants to experience itself, as us, through us. So when I meet you, I know you are me and I am you, right? And this idea of, people have this idea of we're all one, like we're all, in this together.
Yeah.
We are each other.
Yeah. Yeah.
And we are playing in this dimension for this ever expanding return to love and creative evolutionary process. And I've still got questions when I get on the other side. I'll be like, oh my gosh, everybody in spirit sit down, because I've got like a long list of questions.
But the funny thing is, you probably won't have those questions on the other side, because
because I'll be like,
I actually know all of
right?
this stuff.
Yeah. And it's interesting because even when you have the sense of knowing, like when you're in with spirit and you're really getting downloads, or this really just the sensory experience beyond your mind of what the truth of reality is as soon as you come out of that, your mind still goes, well, how does that apply to this and that, and
How can that
right,
help me
which is
get this
where,
thing?
yeah. Or how do I this whole thing of, yeah, I know that. Like, I remember being in this healing quest and being like, yeah, okay, but I get that, but how do I? And they were like, you're not listening.
Yeah.
They're like, how many times do I have to tell you? I'm like, but they're like, no, because people say be present and stop striving, and you're like, but how will I get anything done? And they're like, oh my God, you're missing the point.
I know.
You're missing the point. When you're present and not striving, you will organically and naturally create from the deepest, most beautiful part of you.
Yeah.
And you will magnetically align and attract what you need. You're not doing nothing. You're in alignment, allowing. But I think that our industry has a lot to answer for. The self-help, personal growth. I'm just going to say, I have a bit of a love-hate relationship with it. Like, I'm on social media as little as possible, to be honest. I'm on it for work, and that's pretty much it. And I try to follow as little as possible, because I don't want my mind filled with, something from spirit, not from what's in the world, as much as possible. And also, I think it gets people in a loop of, but I read this in Zen, and then I heard this in something, and I don't understand how to put them together. And it's like, you're looking for the truth outside of yourself instead of listening for the truth inside of yourself, when you are tapped into everything. So why are we not listening to that and trusting that? And from coaching for over a decade, by and large, like I will take on anybody, because I'm like, I don't need to have the answers, because I know they have the answer.
Yeah.
I just have to get them to their answer.
Yeah. Which can be challenging when we are so conditioned as humans to not listen to ourselves, to not trust ourselves, to not sit with ourselves, and the mind, especially I kind of look at kids these days, and even myself, like from the age of 13, 14, I always had a mobile phone. So I always had connection with people, texting, and then it was like Messenger, and then and you used to browse internet forums, but now it's just social media, and it's there all the time. So more and more, with society is being encouraged to not connect to yourself.
Yeah. And it's actually, I will say, it is in my view, it's a huge issue. Like, we all know it is, but it really is, if you want alignment with your deeper self and higher reality. And the beauty, there's so much magic and beauty and peace and relief and being connected to that dimension of reality. And it just can't find its way in. Like, it's just there. It's right there all the time. It's when you're sleeping, it's trying to get through to you. It's when you're waking, it's trying to get through to you. It's always there. There's never not magic, and there's never not guidance, and there's never not knowingness and intuition, and there's never not relief. But it's this constant, like, and it's not just all of that. It's like the stimulation of caffeine and sugar and diet and all these things is just like, it's no wonder people are like, why won't my children settle down? It's like, there's so much, we're little beings, and we're trying to process so much stimulation. And I think you pointed out something really interesting, which is that we don't sit with ourselves, because people don't want to feel what's there when they sit with themselves, right?
No.
It's uncomfortable.
Which is uncomfortable. And I I wanted to help myself with anxiety and depression. So I guess this was probably the beginning. And I took myself to a silent meditation retreat. But I didn't realize what I was letting myself in for at the time. I couldn't stand yoga. I hated yoga. I was training for marathons, so I could not stand yoga. And the fact that somebody had to take my phone away from me for 7 days when I arrived, I didn't know, and I was like, what have I done? I thought I made this there was this accident that I'd kind of signed up for this thing. But then I fell in love with meditation, and actually that being able to, not understanding, because I've since done a lot of training and used like meditation to connect to myself, source, and a level of healing. But I fell in love with it because it was the time when you can actually feel the most at home.
I really hear you.
And how do we,
beautiful?
and when do we, especially you're living a nomadic life, so how do you feel at home when you have no home?
That is my home.
Yeah.
That is my home. And that's really what this nomadic journey in a way has taught me. I'm very close to my family. It was really hard for me. Like, I was like holding on to the walls of my house crying when I left my first home to try to move just across the country, let alone this journey of like not having lived permanently anywhere for 13 years. But now my home is very much spirit, is very much inside of me. And like, it makes me want to cry because you just feel so, it's just the pure truth.
Yeah.
Wow. And you just know it. You just know it's the pure truth. You don't have to touch it once to know. And I love, like, I will often be woken at around 3 to 3:45 in the morning, and I get enough sleep, so it's fine. I'm not upset about it. But I will often get woken and I will just be awake between 3 to 5:30, just kind of drifting. And that's when I feel the most connected, because I'm awake enough to be connected, but I'm not asleep enough to not get it. So it's like that beautiful time. I don't know, it's a beautiful time of the day, when there's not a lot of stimulation, and you're just, it's that in between state when you're drifting out of sleep but you're not awake, and that there's just magic happens. It's magical.
That's amazing, because that well, I get woken up between 3 and 5:30, but that's really interesting you say that, because that's my cat that wakes me up.
Yeah, but you think it's your cat.
But it's not.
Someone else would go, oh, it's my bladder wakes me up.
Yeah, of course it is.
Lots of people sleep the whole night with a full bladder. It's not. There is something very specific about that window.
And science shows it as well. So when I've done done a lot of work with Dr. Joe Dispenza, but listen to a lot of his teachings, and because he's trying to help people understand it as science rather as spirituality, and which is great because it helps so many people understand themselves without really understanding themselves. But the science shows that those hours between 3 and 5 are they're 2 extremely powerful hours in our state, brainwaves and all sorts, because we can connect to this higher knowledge, infinite possibility, this state which is obviously spirit.
100%. I mean, I don't know. I don't want to know what my life would be like if I hadn't have connected it.
No.
I don't want to know, because I think I would have made a great melancholic, depressive person, because that's where I was going. And I could have said no to the stirring, to the call. And it wasn't easy. It wasn't easy to walk it. Like, it's been really messy. There've been a lot of times when I've been a hot mess. really a hot mess. And I've just taught as I've gone. Like I've built my business as I've gone. I've just been like really honest and being like, this is where I'm doing, and this is the mess, and this is right, and just doing it as I go along. But we're never done. The heart's still beating, so we're never done. We're never done until the heart stops beating, and it's like we're checked out, because it's like, okay, sign
until
off.
we've checked out, and then we get to start again.
Yeah, don't say that. Don't say that, because I said, I was like, can I put in an order that this might be my last go after the last year?
No, I know.
Okay.
This is what I keep saying. So, I mean, I kind of follow a bit of, Aaron Abke?
Yes.
Yeah, so I follow a lot of his, like, kind of how he's teaching in the world, and some of the law of one stuff, and how, the harvest, and we're all at this fourth density, or we're trying to help consciousness evolve, and and Aaron has said, if you're watching this, it's likely that this could be your last round on Earth, and I'm like, yes.
Yeah. Check me out. Yeah, I have this really interesting. I find the world. I find the world a really challenging place. I find it every day. I find it filled with so much magic. I just think divine guidance is so magical. I just am shocked by it all the time. And people like my first two books I wrote about divine signs and how life is speaking to us uniquely, and all the examples of it, and documented how I listened and followed and what happened. And I just find it so fascinating. And I also find it really, really difficult.
Yeah.
And painful to watch and to be party to. But the world is always going to be duality, and there's a lot of relief when you let go of right, wrong, good, bad, should, shouldn't.
Yeah.
It just is. It just is. And it's all life force. There is not, there's the beautiful life force and then there's bad stuff. No, it's all life force. All of it.
Yeah. Exactly.
It's only one.
And I think when we can release that judgment, which is very hard for the human ego to do, there's a weight lifted. Can we release judgment of ourselves? Can we release judgment of others and accept the polarity of life? Because actually, without the polarity, we wouldn't be here.
There is nothing. There would just be
nothing.
Right.
Yeah.
There would not be delicious satay chicken on the side of the road here in Bangkok for me to eat. There would not be thunderstorms and rain, which I love listening to. There would not be dogs and cats to cuddle. There would not be all of the stuff. And there would not be people pushing our buttons. True. But in the people pushing our buttons, we get to love ourselves more, and we get to learn how to love other people despite all of their stuff too. So
yeah, despite all of their stuff. I know. Okay, so how can people align with their soul more and spirit?
Good question. Okay. Oh my gosh, that's a life's work. So I would say,
don't expect a quick fix here.
No, that's right. So I would say the first thing I would say is that I think personally it's practically extremely helpful for you to see like logical evidence of this in your life. Because when you can see logical evidence of it in your life, you stop thinking that your soul is somewhere out there and the universe is somewhere out there, and you start to realize it is literally everything about your life that's happening right now. So now you don't need to try to get anywhere. So onboarding your mind, it's like onboarding your mind to the facts of this reality, the high reality. And that's why I like this really practical model of you can see your soul lessons playing out in your life. Look at the challenges that keep repeating like a boomerang. And have been your whole life. Look at them, they'll be right there. That's your soul lessons playing out for you. That's your job. It's part of your job right there. And then another way that you can really tune into your soul is to recognize that, first of all, you are your soul. We only talk about it as being something different so you can wrap your logical mind around it. I like to say there's your soul self and your small self. So your soul self is like this magnificent beingness that's breathing through you, and your soul self, your small self, I often refer to it as the baby in the front pack. It's sitting in the little thing in the front of you, and it's like looking around, and it wants what it wants, and it's crying about stuff, and it's waving its arms, and the soul self needs to love, nurture, and lead this little small self, right? But your soul self is always talking to you in three particular ways that you can understand with your mind right now: your passions, your inspirations, and your intuition. So if you're like, I don't know what my soul wants, listen to your passions, inspirations, and to your intuition. If you're like, I don't have a connection with my soul, you do. It is you, it's in you, and it's speaking to you in those three ways. So you have your mind noise, your beliefs, your thoughts, your human feelings, your fears, and then you have these three otherworldly things always happening underneath. But the small self is constantly going, that's not important. That's not important. So it's like letting these three things be seen and revered, and starting to realize that you are your soul. It is in you. It is speaking to you in these ways.
Yeah.
The other thing is empty your mind and fill your heart. We have a world full of people with full minds and empty hearts. So how do we do that? All the practices, the things that resonate with you. It's different for every person, but you've got to sort this out. So like right at the moment, I'm doing a workshop on this, and one of the videos is entirely about psychology, about how to get this in alignment with your soul. Because this, if it's not been aligned, is full of conditioning, which is what everybody else has taught you. So we come home to the beliefs that reflect our soul. I am divinity in a body. I am enough. I'm worthy. I'm deserving. I'm safe. I'm connected. And when we're doing these things, meditation practices, journaling, being in nature, being present, not overstimulating ourselves, we're starting to empty this receptacle of the noise. And calming, a big one, calming our nervous system in our body, our emotional self. When that is overstimulated and we're overhyped and we're full of all our emotions and we can hardly get our head above water, it's really hard to expect somebody to feel connected to source, because the human primitive physiological being is like not letting it happen.
Yeah.
Right. So it's like emptying the mind, calming the body, and then we start to open our heart to really connect with what matters to me.
Yeah. The heart
what
opening
really matters to me.
I find it's been the most powerful thing for me, because I'm able to make very deep connections with people and myself. But a lot of people have resistance. There's a lot of fear around opening the heart.
Yes, there is, because they don't feel safe. So when people talk about, oh, we've got to choose between love and fear, we do, 100%. But why are we in fear in the first place? Because we don't feel safe. Don't feel safe in the world, doesn't feel safe to be with other people, doesn't feel safe in my XYZ relationships, in my environment. And that feeling of fear and unsafety is going to make you close down, because that is your very smart brain, body, and subconscious doing their job to keep you safe. So you can't just go, I'm just going to like open my heart, when your entire physiology is going, well, I need to stay alive. So you and I both know opening your heart in a relationship is not going to kill you, but your brain and body and primitive self don't know that. That's just like danger, shut down. And so I think to open the heart, you got to feel safe. And so how do you feel safe? You have to train your mind, your brain, your body, your nervous system to feel safe. Diaphragmatic breathing, emotional freedom techniques, meditation, spiritual connection practices. You start to feel safer. Like feeling unsafe and anxious would be my theme of my life until recently, until I really have come into alignment. And because the world will evidence for you all the time it's not safe out there. People are dying, there's wars, there's problems, it's like, that's not where your true safety lies. I don't know if you've studied A Course in Miracles, but I'm obsessed with that. And I studied it really intensively for about 8 years. But now it's just like another, it's just another worldview to add to the toolkit, really, about understanding reality. And your true safety lies in that this is all temporary, and who you really are is untouchable, untaintable, unchangeable. And it's trusting in that. Like a big thing is not trusting in that, right? And that's why we shut down and we put on armor to protect ourselves. And we control and we do all of the things. Of course, don't dislike that part of yourself. Like, love that part of yourself, because that part of yourself is trying to keep you alive. It's trying to keep you safe. It's just misguided a lot of the time. Like, you'll love that part of yourself when, a tiger's chasing you to eat you.
Or you're going to walk out in front of the bus.
But you don't love it when it's a relationship or a money or a career thing. You just have to understand that part of yourself has to be lovingly led, not brutalized, not whipped into shape, just lovingly led to a new world view and a new you. which is you without those mechanisms.
Yeah, which is just fascinating, because the world is a mirror, right? So I'm experiencing a lot of mirror reflections of this, of fear in relationships and reality, and I kind of think, that's them, that, or the mind can think that's them that's scared, but actually it's within us. And so it's feeling a lack of safety in the world has been a huge thing throughout my own life. But as I can say and vouch, as I'm sure you can to anybody who's listening, the more that you can align more with love and help your body, soul, well, not soul, but your body trust, because it is, a lot of it is held in the body. Breath work has been humongous for me in helping. I do it every morning and every evening just to help me stay sane and release a lot of it, and movement, dancing, screaming, shaking, just to help my body feel safe. And then you can talk to the mind a little bit more, and then open the heart. But you have to, the only way you can really show your body that it's safe is by doing it, and keep doing it bit by bit by bit. And it feels terrifying in the moment. And I did it a little bit yesterday, and I could feel my childhood pattern go, oh no, Roseanna, you have to close off again. It's like, no, let's just see, just one step at a time.
Yeah, gentle. That's the way. Gentle, loving leadership to bring yourself like little bit by little bit and realize you're still standing.
And still standing. That's
way.
it. Amazing.
Yeah.
Well, B, okay, so I could carry on this conversation all day, and I can't tell you, my heart at the moment feels very open. My crown, there's a lot. I feel very overwhelmed with energy at the moment.
Oh, beautiful. It's so nice talking to you. I know we're on a podcast, aren't we? Where it's being recorded for everybody else. It just feels like a really nice conversation to have had this afternoon. I really appreciate it.
No, this has been wonderful. Thank you. I have one last question for you, and that is, if you could leave, out of all of the work that you've done, you can leave one message with humanity, and the rest of your work is going to be wiped. This is what would it be? One message and the rest of your work. I
have had this question on a couple of different podcasts, and I think I've given slightly different iterations of it each time. But I would just say this to anybody who's listening, and this is like just forgetting about my work and what my work would be. That you're here to remember who you really are. And I know who you really are, and I will remember it for you when you cannot remember for yourself. It's far beyond this body, this mind. Like, it's so divine. It would so blow your mind. And don't forget that when you incarnated, you literally got coded with what you need to do this. So whether it's like you want to make more money, you're coded with what you need to do that. Whether it's you want to heal your body, you're coded to do that. Whether you want to feel safe, you're coded to do that. You want to feel loved, you're coded to do that. Like, you have everything you need. There's nothing out there that you need to go seeking for and searching and worry that you're not going to find it. And I think sometimes we just need somebody to like reassure us that that's true. Because I think we know.
We know.
But we want somebody to just be like, is that right?
And that's why you're such an inspiration, because you're showing the world. You're leading the way with how you live your life, with what you teach, with the work that you present to the world, and just your being. You are leading the way in trust and love, and I think that's extremely inspirational. So thank you.
I promise I'll always do it in a graceful way. Sometimes it's a hot mess, but
that's polarity. To the path. That's the polarity. Hot mess and grace.
Keeping it real. It's keeping it real.
Oh, B, thank you so much. Now, for anybody interested in learning more about B's work, all the links will be in the description to this. Please go follow her on Instagram, check out her workshops on her website. All the links will be below, and go and you can hear B's teachings on her podcast and YouTube. So Thank you so much for being here, and I hope that we connect
Thank
further
you.
in the future.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm sure we will. Thank you to everyone that's here listening. It's been an absolute pleasure.
Thank you for tuning in to this week's episode of The Mandala Effect. If you enjoyed today's episode, be sure to subscribe and leave us a review on your favourite podcast platform. I greatly appreciate your ongoing support, and the podcast wouldn't be where it is today without you, so thank you. Don't forget to share this podcast with your friends and family, and let's continue spreading the mandala effect of magic and infinite possibilities. See you next week.